The heavy oak doors of the Supreme Court building creaked open under the weight of silence and anticipation. Whispers buzzed through the hallway like electricity as news leaked of an unannounced emergency hearing, something almost unheard of in the legal world. Security was tighter than ever. Black-suited marshals flanked the corridors while senior aides and reporters scrambled for any clue about what was going on behind those sealed courtroom walls. Suddenly, all eyes turned as Elon Musk appeared at the steps, dressed sharply in a charcoal suit, face unreadable. He was flanked by only one lawyer, unusual for a man known to command armies of attorneys for even the most routine matters. The optics were striking. One man walking into the lion's den, completely unshaken. Inside the chamber, Chief Justice John Roberts sat sternly, flanked by fellow justices. The air was thick with tension. The benches, though lined with high-ranking officials and elite journalists granted rare access, felt strangely claustrophobic. No one expected a direct confrontation between the nation's most powerful judicial figure and one of its most polarizing tech moguls. Yet, here it was. Roberts glanced down at the bench, motioned to the clerk, and the proceedings began. The announcement stunned the room, a formal inquiry into Musk's recent dealings involving national aerospace contracts and alleged circumventions of federal regulations. A collective gasp spread through the gallery. The court fell into silence again as Musk was asked to rise. He stood with a calm that bordered on defiant. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes locked onto Roberts like a chess grandmaster studying his opponent's opening move. The cameras outside, positioned on every possible live feed, caught nothing, but the digital world exploded with theories. Was Musk finally facing the full weight of the federal judiciary? Social media platforms erupted in real time as viewers speculated whether the billionaire would walk out free, or walk out in handcuffs. But Musk didn't speak yet. He just listened, absorbing every word, every nuance, waiting for the exact moment to strike with a strategy only he understood. Chief Justice John Roberts leaned forward, his voice firm, echoing through the marbled chamber as he addressed the court. A hush fell over the room so complete that even the distant rustle of papers seemed thunderous. The accusation came swiftly, decisively, and with surgical precision. Elon Musk, Roberts began, you stand here today not just as a businessman, but as a figure whose unchecked ambition may have placed this nation's technological sovereignty at risk. The words cut through the air like a knife. Gasps escaped from a few in the gallery. Musk's expression remained unreadable, his jaw tight, hands folded calmly in front of him. He didn't blink. Roberts continued, detailing how recent satellite launches and defense-related technological initiatives spearheaded by Musk's companies had allegedly bypassed key federal oversight. He referenced top-secret programs, flagged internal memos, and intelligence reports that implied violations of national protocol. A large screen behind the bench lit up, showcasing documents bearing government seals, redacted lines, and project names that had never been seen by the public. These programs, Roberts said, may have compromised sensitive data, and in doing so, created vulnerabilities in our national defense. The atmosphere turned electric. Reporters furiously typed notes on tablets, analysts whispered furiously, and Musk's own lawyer remained stone-faced, showing no panic. Yet the weight of the accusation was undeniable. This was no corporate lawsuit. This was war on a legal battlefield. Musk was being painted not as an entrepreneur, but as a potential national threat. Roberts' tone sharpened with each word, methodically laying out the government's case as if each sentence was a brick in a wall closing in around Musk. The court clerk read aloud the official statement of inquiry, calling for a review of SpaceX's satellite programs, Neuralink's data access permissions, and Tesla's international AI operations. Still, Musk said nothing. The world outside didn't stay quiet. Social media exploded with breaking news alerts. Elon Musk accused of undermining U.S. security, one headline read. Influencers speculated, analysts debated, Wall Street trembled as Tesla stock took a sudden dip in pre-market hours. The courtroom's interior, however, remained a world frozen in time. Roberts concluded the charge presentation with a pause, as though he expected Musk to break. But Musk, calm as a still ocean, leaned slightly toward his attorney, whispered something brief, and then met the Chief Justice's eyes once again. There was no fear in his gaze, only calculation. The air crackled with the unspoken tension of two titans locked in a silent war, both waiting for the next move. Just as the courtroom seemed to teeter under the weight of Roberts' allegations, Elon Musk finally moved. Slowly, deliberately, he reached into a black leather briefcase his lawyer had placed on the desk. Every eye in the room followed the motion, breath held, as he pulled out a single thick folder, stamped with a holographic Department of Defense seal. Without asking permission, Musk stood and addressed the bench directly, his voice steady and clear. "Before you accuse me of endangering national security, Your Honor," he said, "perhaps you should read your own government's authorization." He handed the folder to a marshal, who delivered it to the bench. Roberts opened it, his brow furrowing almost immediately. Inside were high-level federal contracts, many signed and countersigned by defense officials, some even by past members of the court. The documents laid out exemptions Musk had been granted for specific missions the government had not only authorized but praised. Musk continued without flinching, his words slicing through the silence. "Every project named in your accusations," he said, "was cleared under Section 14Z, ratified 3 years ago, co-signed by this very court. You've either forgotten your own rulings, or someone misled you." Gasps rippled through the gallery again. The justices leaned forward, examining the documents. Musk didn't stop. He tapped on a second file. His lawyer slid forward. "You'll find communication logs, time-stamped emails, and security clearance memos," he said. "All of them prove my companies operated under direct supervision of the relevant authorities. There was no rogue action. No breach. Only progress." Roberts looked up, visibly unsettled. Musk wasn't just defending himself, he was launching a full-scale counterattack with legal weapons forged in the very halls of government. On screen, Musk motioned for a visual. A classified email chain appeared, one showing a senior military official explicitly instructing Musk to accelerate satellite deployment due to urgent geopolitical threats. Musk turned back to the bench. "You asked for speed. I delivered. Now you're punishing efficiency." The courtroom was no longer against him. The energy shifted. Even those skeptical of Musk began to murmur in his favor. Legal commentators exchanged glances. What had started as a judicial ambush was turning into a masterclass in legal redirection. Musk's ability to interpret the law, cite precedent, and weaponize government documents with exact timing left even seasoned legal minds rattled. Then came the kicker. Musk pointed out a clause buried in an old Supreme Court ruling, one that allowed private entities greater leeway in emergency tech rollouts, a ruling authored by none other than John Roberts himself. "If there was any violation here," Musk said coolly, "it was of your own guidance." Silence. The judge's gavel remained untouched. No interruption, no objection. Elon Musk had flipped the courtroom from defendant to dominant voice. Chief Justice Roberts stared at the documents in front of him, his posture rigid but his composure showing the faintest cracks. The folder Musk had handed over was more than just a defense, it was a mirror reflecting years of overlooked decisions, hidden approvals, and forgotten legal frameworks that had been conveniently ignored for today's ambush. As the contents of the files were projected onto the courtroom screens, one revelation followed another like dominoes crashing in sequence. Email threads showed classified correspondence between Musk and high-ranking Pentagon officials, where he was not only given permission to proceed with defense-related tech launches but was actively encouraged to expedite them. The courtroom atmosphere shifted from tense to stunned. What was moments ago a tidal wave against Musk now started to turn on its source. A senator present in the room leaned toward a colleague and whispered, "Why didn't they check this before filing a motion?" Roberts, still silent, began flipping through more pages. The legal foundation beneath his accusations had begun to erode. The very architecture of the case now looked unstable, if not entirely baseless. He tried to interject, to regain control, but Musk calmly raised a hand. "With respect, Your Honor, I'm not finished." He gestured to his lawyer, who produced a screen-mounted USB drive. Upon insertion, it displayed a timeline, meticulously crafted, complete with dates, signatures, and official statements from federal departments. It showed that Musk's space-based AI defense grid, one of the case's focal points, had received full governmental backing after a closed-door congressional vote. Musk didn't gloat, he simply allowed the facts to speak for themselves. The implications were staggering. Roberts' legal team had either missed crucial approvals or had ignored them intentionally. Then came the real blow. Musk revealed a document labeled, Judicial Review, Emergency Innovation Bypass, which contained footnotes from Roberts' own past rulings, stating that in the event of national threat, certain tech innovators could receive temporary immunity from conventional oversight. The court's own precedents, authored by the very man who now sat in judgment, were shielding Musk from the charges being leveled against him. A murmur ran through the rows of legal professionals in attendance. The Chief Justice looked visibly cornered. Outside, media channels had picked up the courtroom's live updates, and the narrative was shifting minute by minute. Headlines now read, "Musk turns courtroom into legal clinic," And, Chief Justice scrambles as Musk produces immunity ruling authored by Roberts. Analysts spoke in awe of Musk's preparedness, calling it one of the sharpest legal reversals ever seen in a Supreme Court setting. Inside, the justices conferred in hushed tones, reading through the freshly submitted exhibits. The silence from Roberts was no longer authoritative, it was defensive. His attempts to strike fear and assert power had been upended by a meticulous legal web he himself had helped spin years ago. Musk looked on, impassive but alert, watching the unraveling of a narrative that had threatened to crush him just moments earlier. The tables had turned. The room held its breath as Chief Justice Roberts, usually the picture of unshakable authority, quietly set the final document. Aside, he didn't speak. He didn't look up. The silence said everything. Elon Musk, once standing alone against a mountain of federal accusation, now stood unchallenged. Without fanfare, Roberts tapped his gavel once and announced, "The matter is dismissed." Just like that, the case that had rattled headlines and shaken boardrooms was over. There was no drama in his voice, only resignation. No further explanation was offered, no apology given. But the courtroom understood what had just occurred. The Chief Justice had been outmaneuvered in front of the entire nation. Musk didn't smile. He nodded respectfully, then calmly collected his folder and turned to exit. The courtroom erupted, not in cheers, but in a flurry of movement. Reporters sprinted out, phones pressed to ears, live streams firing up, headlines being written mid-step. Outside, the crowd that had gathered behind police barricades roared as Musk emerged. The flash of cameras, the chaos of questions, the shouting, it all hit at once. He walked straight through it, flanked only by his quiet lawyer, offering no quotes, just a confident stride that told the world he needed no words. His silence was victory enough. Social media platforms were already boiling. Elon Musk just made the Supreme Court look like interns, one trending post read. Memes exploded. Analysts scrambled to rewrite their morning talking points. The financial markets, which had dipped earlier in fear, now soared. Tesla and SpaceX stocks skyrocketed as confidence flooded back into investor veins. Commentators on live television struggled to keep up with the magnitude of the reversal, calling it a once-in-a-generation courtroom moment, and a legal blueprint for modern defense entrepreneurs. Back inside, Roberts remained seated long after Musk had gone. A heavy air hung over the justices. They had watched a man, accused of national violations, prove not only his innocence but the deep contradictions within the very system that judged him. Roberts knew his name would be etched into history beside this trial, not for triumph, but for miscalculation. The quiet judgment of his peers, though unspoken, weighed heavier than any ruling. Meanwhile, Musk boarded a black electric SUV parked outside. As it pulled away, his phone buzzed constantly, calls from senators, global defense officials, and CEOs all flooding in. But he ignored them for now, simply looking out the tinted window as the city blurred by. He had turned what could have been a legacy-ruining scandal into a defining show of intelligence, resilience, and unmatched legal precision. This wasn't just a victory, it was dominance, executed with a calm intensity only he could wield. Hours later, Musk tweeted just one sentence, "Always read the footnotes." The internet exploded.